Garrett Blevins here with the final day of my volume block. I'm a little bit behind on some of these videos. I've got some footage stored up, but it's just raw that I need to get posted up here. Been busy with some school work, some master's work this last week, doing a 1 week intensive. That said, pause squats went pretty well on this day. Did the first couple of sets beltless just because I was really tired on this day and didn't want to push the intensity too hard. However, as I went through the sets, I really started to feel a little bit better. And I've been doing some thinking about ramp-up sets and the range with which I'm working. You'll see here, my first couple working sets were 435, and then I started adding 10s on the sides because it felt so much easier once I threw the belt in. I was really surprised at how much better I was able to maintain position through this work. And you can definitely tell that I've been doing more sumo work. You see how much higher I am in these squats, and that's because my hips are getting real tight. They're not beat up so much as it's just they're tight, and it takes a while to get warmed up, even though I'm doing sets of 10, sets of 8 with the weights as I work up. Bar path is a little bit off, harder for me to stay upright, and it's just more difficult when you're getting beat up. But I was able to work up some better weights today, which was good. And make some improvements on my pause squat, at least for 6 rep max. I believe I did at some point 545 for 5. And strength levels go up and down like that. It's interesting with I've been watching some of Ed Cohen's stuff on super training, and he talks about how you just have to set up the next week with the weights you do the week before. And to do that, that means you can't be going all out RPE 10, or if you do hit that real heavy grinder set, that means that you're going to have to lower the number of reps you do the next week. And so I decided to push this being the last volume day and the last day of the week for working out, that I knew my pause squat reps and sets were going to go down for the next 3 weeks, and so decided to really push this hard. Those are training decisions you need to be able to make and understand. As you understand your programming, you'll know when you can push it a little bit further than you have in the past. And so it's something to consider as you're training. You need to know when to go for it and when not to go for it. That said, I think I'm going to be looking over my training and working with my coach at TSA after this next probably 5-week block, and assessing some of what we're going to do into nationals to really I think peak at the right time and get used to some heavier weights. As I'm looking at what I'm going to be doing this next week, a lot of squats in the 5s, doing sets of 5s, that sort of stuff. But I never really have been doing a lot of triples for weeks on end, and so I would like to at least discuss that idea. I'm a big fan of linear periodization, but it doesn't always work with the way that I've been lifting as a raw lifter. And in fact, the cube protocol has helped out a lot. And so I'm going to be working with my coach a little bit just to firm up some of the training plans going all the way into nationals this year, as well as just thinking about some of my own philosophies and working on those. Bench press went pretty well today. Shoulders are feeling better. I would still say that I'm recovering and hitting my groove again after missing that 500-pound bench. It's not my it was one of my favorite bench presses of all time, though I wish I had made it. I was able to rack the weight by myself, but got really twisted through the rep. And so I don't think 375 is a ton of weight for me. I think I've done sets of 5 with a lot more weight than this, though I did feel comfortable with these and thought it was a good just building day. I'm hoping that the bench press strength starts to show up again, though I am working bench 3 days a week and working it pretty hard all 3 of those days. And so the fatigue level is going to be there. However, as I had mentioned, this is the end of this volume block, and I'll be moving into a 3-week intensity block where each week the overall volume is going to drop down. To give you an idea of the numbers, going from about 120 to 110,000 pounds of barbell volume in this volume block, we'll be dropping down to 90,000 to maybe 70,000 pounds in the over the next 3 weeks. So a substantial drop, 30% or so, 40% maybe, drop in volume on some of the lifts. And then I'll be going into a week where I'm probably going to do some triples and then either a mock meet of singles or a mock meet of triples. Haven't quite decided what I'm going to test on exactly, but to get a basic idea of where my strength levels are at about 8 weeks out from my previous competition. That will then lead into a full 12-week training cycle, and I'm hoping to really get some good gains out of that. I think that I've put in a lot of volume and I've put on a little bit of muscle in this last 20, 30 weeks or so. I've been working my squat really hard to try to get some hypertrophy in my legs so that I can have a larger base and break through some of the plateaus that I've had. However, to do that, I'm going to have to start training that muscle now to work properly. And that's what I'm going to discuss with my coach the most, is how to really get my body with its current size and hypertrophy level to develop the most optimal strength for that physique, because this is the physique I have. I'm pushing the weight class right now. I weigh 231, 233 pretty much every day, so can't really gain too much more weight or put on any more size, so I might as well work with what I've got. Additionally, I'm not huge on dieting, but I think my body fat percentage somewhere around 15-16%. That could be lower. I think a good powerlifting level of body fat, can be in the 12s. That's a sustainable thing and still have fairly good performance. Others are lower and have done really well. I'm not saying that's the gold standard, but for me it gets really uncomfortable to try to cut out any more fat. I'm very comfortable with the body weight that I'm at now. I did finish up with some narrow stance sumo. As I had mentioned, even though this was a speed week on deadlift for me, I pulled block pulls way too heavy after my speed work on deadlift. I should have made it an easy day, but I'm just not used to having an easy day. But I need to do that since I'm doing this more sumo pulling. And so this day with this narrow stance sumo was definitely an easy day. Additionally, there was a basketball tournament going on in the gym, so I couldn't make a lot of noise or drop the weights. So you'll see sometimes I pause the weight even off the ground before I set it down, or I will just barely tap the ground, which was actually a lot more difficult than, just basic touch and go. However, because it was so difficult, I guess I decided to make it really tough on myself and do a set of 12 to finish out the day. That just shows that the other two sets of 405 that I did wouldn't even register on RPE. I did 6 more reps in this set than the others. So those other two sets are pretty much like, they're just RP6, the RPE of not mattering at all. But I did enjoy doing this narrow stance sumo work this way, and I enjoyed doing some of them I messed up and didn't touch the ground, like that rep there, and found that I actually kind of like it because it teaches the tight position at the bottom of the sumo. And so if you pause it, that one there, I wasn't touching the ground. If you pause it there, it will teach you how to stay tight. In any case, as I've referenced before, I've been working on this 1 Corinthians passage and not wasting time, not doing things aimlessly or without a reason. And I've been thinking more about that as I was talking a lot in this voiceover about training. It's important to think through your training and why you're doing what you're doing, and also to do the training that works for you. If you do watch the Q&A with Ed Cohen that's on Super Training, it's put up, it's about an hour long, but I think during the latter third, maybe about 40 minutes in, Ed Cohen starts talking about his programming, how he did what worked for him, and just built through trial and error on whatever he was already doing. He didn't look for a magic program or swap back and forth, but instead really did what worked for him and made the adjustments that worked for him personally. And that's somebody who's paying attention to what they're doing. They're doing what works for them. They're doing what they are capable of. And in a Christian standpoint, I might say they're doing what they were called to do, not what they choose to do. They're accepting the reality of their nature rather than trying to be somebody that self-determines what works and what does not work for them, because our bodies really don't function that way. In any case, I appreciate you watching, and I'll try to get up the next few workouts a little faster in a more timely fashion. Hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.